let's get started. And first, I gotta clear some things at the top of the stream. Hello, hello, hello. I'm your host, Sarah, and welcome to the stream. And first, I gotta give a big thank you to Gawbombs, who followed 2 days ago, Melisandre, who followed 51 minutes ago, and I want to give a big thank you to Face Full of Bugs, who subscribed for 2 months at Tier 1. Do. And hello, everybody. I'm your host, and tonight we will be focused on a very special one. We'll be focused on tissue engineering, because my final report is coming up, and I have not worked on it a damn bit. Hello, Bubbly Milk. Hello, Let's Be Honest. Hello, Faceful Bugs, and thank you for the host as well, Bugs. Yes, so we will be looking at tissue engineering. So, how familiar is the chat with tissue engineering? Hello, other child. Okay, barely familiar? Well, let's get started with some opening info. I should probably open up MS Paint, because there's drawings I gotta do. I got my notebook with me. I got an idea of what I want to study for my final project. So, Online Paint, my one and only friend. Let's see. Nope, that's the wrong thing. Why am I silly enough to think that I need a browser source when I'm trying to display a window? There we go. Okay, so tissue engineering is a really cool thing of what I do, and it's actually one of my main focuses with my major. And where'd my chat window go? I'm just gonna pull that to the side. You're assuming it has to do with... Oh, Distracted Doodler! Thank you so much for subscribing at Chat Pause Do to Scroll Tier 1. Thank you so much. And assuming it has to do with the artificial engineering of organic materials, you would be correct. And you can engineer tissues. There actually is material engineering for making actual, like, Kleenex tissues. But then tissue engineering focuses on making... Just gotta move my chat window. OBS, please stop. Please... Why must you hurt me like this? I've done nothing to you. I've been so good. Yeah, so that would be materials engineering. And then for tissue engineering, you are looking at how to help with transplants, how to help with organ donation, and how to help with regrowing tissues and repairing them. There's three main parts to tissue engineering. They form a triangle. Oh, why did I think doing this with the mouse would be a good idea? There's cells. There's ECM, which is the extracellular matrix. And then there's tissues themselves. They form a powerful triforce of skin and other stuff. Oh, fuck, I messed up the triangle. It's not tissue itself, because tissue's in the center. The actual third component is signaling. Yeah, one of the major things that they're looking at right now is, for facial transplants at least, chimeral cells. I was doing research on it. They're trying to make cells that have aspects of both the donor and the host, so that people don't need to use immunosuppressant drugs for major transplants. Because immunosuppressant drugs are wonderful, and they're one of the reasons that people are able to get tissues donated at all. However, there are a lot of side effects with weakening the immune system, so they're trying to see if they can lessen the effects of that. And yes, it is the Triforce of Flesh. Yeah. So especially with more major stuff they've done now, they've started advancing the field to have much more complex transplants. They've started transplanting hands and faces. Yeah, chimeral cells are a very interesting concept. There is a Polish-American doctor at the University of Illinois who focuses a lot on it. forget her name right now. Maria Siemionow. I messed that up badly. I'm very sorry. But if you look up her work, she is one of the top transplant surgeons in the world right now. She is the one who is the leader of the field. So there's three main parts to tissue engineering, and the extracellular matrix is also very cool because that's what scaffolds are. That's your connective tissue, is ECM mostly, and ECM doesn't have a lot of blood flow the way that cells do. So you have a lot of proteins and fibers that form the ECM, and the strength of your ECM can determine the function of the cells that grow in it. Because stem cells are the cells that can become other cells. They can divide many times without differentiating, and when they do differentiate, they can differentiate into different types of cells. There's multiple types of stem cells depending on how specific they are. There's a totipotent, multipotent, pluripotent. So there's certain stem cells that can become any tissue in the body. Those are embryonic stem cells and totipotent stem cells. And then, say, a multipotent stem cell from your skin can become any type of skin cell, but it can't become, say, a muscle cell. So my final project, I need to pull up the requirements again for it, but I have to make a little presentation about an aspect of tissue engineering that I want to explore and a problem I want to solve. Yes, other? What do you need? What's your question? Is it called a transplant only if it moves tissue from one person to another? Does it count as moving tissue from one area of the body? There's actually multiple types of transplants, and they're called... Graft is how you specialize them. So transplants are moving things from one to another, but depending on the type of graft you do, that's where it comes from. So autograft is where you move something from one part of someone's body to another part of their body without switching hosts. An autograft would be, say, if you got a burn on your arm and they took skin from your thigh to cover the burn. That's an autograft, and those have the least chance of rejection because it's your own cells. However, there are issues because now you have two wound sites, and that takes longer to heal. And then you have exografts, I believe they're called, where they come from someone else who is also human. I have it in my notes. I'm pulling it up right now. And then, let's see. So it was auto, and then I believe the other was called... Those are cadherins. That's not what we're looking at right now. Fibroblasts. Because we did a study of the pros and cons of the different types of transplants. That's the connective tissue. I've taken way too many notes in this class. Holy shit. Why? Why do I study so much? Why do I do this to myself? But xenografts are where they come from a different species. So, like, they've actually done some stuff where they can transplant valves from pigs into people's hearts. Because what's interesting is, yes, so there's totipotent, which can become any cell type, including extra embryonic cells like the placenta. Yeah, you can transplant from animals into people. It's very dangerous, but you can do it, depending on what you're doing. We've made it less dangerous, but there is issues with cross-species contamination, such as they've taken stuff from cows and put it in people, but the problem is there is a type of E. coli that is commonly found in cows that is harmless to cows, but dangerous to people. Oh! Goofcat, thank you so much for the host. Yeah, tonight we are studying chemical engineering, specifically tissue engineering. Yeah. Okay. So I have to come up with an actual... Stinky, I should ban you, but I'm not because we're here to learn. Hello, Silver, how you doing? Can't wait to DIY some tissues. It's very cool. Yeah, so the main three concepts of tissue engineering are that you have cells, you have the extracellular matrix, and you have signaling. And manipulating these, hey, Sakos, yeah, we're studying not biology, engineering, tissue engineering. So you can manipulate these three and engineer new ways to help aid people. fuck? I cannot find that notes. But yeah, I believe off the top of my head, it is autographs, exographs, and xenographs. If I'm remembering my Greek right. Yeah, and there are 4 main types of cells that make up everything in your body. There are 4 main types of tissues: connective tissue, nervous tissue, muscle tissue, and let's see. Connective, nervous, muscle, and you know, we had a whole exam that I got an A on with this stuff where that was one of the questions, and now it's just not in my head because I have way too many other things in my brain. Let's see, where was that? Connective, muscle, types of signals. Where the fuck? Why? There's so many goddamn pages in this notebook. Okay, there's connective tissue, muscle tissue, epithelial tissue, and nervous tissue. For some reason, I confused epithelial and connective tissue again. You already tested on this. You don't need it anymore. Yeah, I had a different exam yesterday. That was my last one as an undergraduate. That was all about process control and dynamics. Yeah, so we have... Are you telling me I could have just used this tool the whole fucking time to make the triangle instead of trying to draw it? Cardiovascular tissue is a type of muscle tissue. There's 3 main types of muscle tissue. Congrats, thank you. Thank you for the keyword too. Yeah, so the 3 main types of muscle tissue are smooth muscle tissue that makes up things such as your arteries and your organs inside. Your colon is all muscle tissue. And then you well, not the sphincter, but that's because you can control that. Smooth muscle tissue is involuntary and is able to regenerate when it is damaged. Like your smooth muscle tissue has to be able to repair itself, especially within your gut. So it has a very high regenerative ability. It's one of the only muscle tissues that does. Your skeletal tissue is under voluntary control, and it's the only kind that is. That's how you're able to move and all that fun stuff. And that has some regenerative ability, but not as much as the smooth muscle tissue. Now it's called smooth muscle tissue because when you look at it under a microscope. Now, everybody, I'm going to warn you when I'm looking up photos, it's all scientific, but there may be some stuff that you don't want to see. So when you look at them under a microscope with the 3 types of fucking Pinterest, I swear to God. Okay, it doesn't fuck up OBS when I move it. So if you look here, this is skeletal muscle tissue. It forms sarci, I think is the name of them, where it's these bands. And then it's called smooth muscle tissue because it's Santana's favorite. Fuck! Yes, it's the different cellular structure. Form determines function. That's one of the main things to remember when it comes to biology and cells. Form determines function. Oh! Rebellious Ramen, thank you so much for the follow. So if you look at smooth muscle tissue, it has a very smooth appearance such as this. And it is able to, it's within your lungs, your internal organs, and some of your blood vessels. Gross pictures on Google Images is every type of bioculture. Yep. Thank you so much for following Rebellious Ramen. They look like kayaks. They kind of do. And then if you look at cardiac muscle cells, they're much more regulated. And you cannot control your cardiac muscle. It's completely under its own control, involuntary control, and it has no regenerative ability. That's why people need heart transplants after heart attacks and stuff, because once that muscle is damaged from a lack of blood flow, it cannot be rebuilt. And if you look at the skeletal muscle fiber, it's actually multinucleated, where multiple muscle cells fuse together and form these bands. Fun fact, all muscles made very small cogs. Yeah, so I have to come up with a presentation idea. So my main thing that I'm interested in is actually skin regeneration for burn victims and people who just don't have skin. Multinucleated. It's actually one for lots of bands. It's actually multiple nuclei for a single band. Yeah, skin regeneration is actually a really interesting field because trying to regrow skin is very difficult. One of the main issues that they run into with skin regeneration is actually being able to grow hair and sweat glands. Because if you could figure out how to grow hair again, you'd pretty much cure baldness, and I think that would make you a multi-bajillionaire. But the interesting thing with the fact about sweat glands is burn victims, after they recover and can regrow, if they can regrow tissue in the area, because typically it's too damaged. If you have major serious burns, like third-degree burns, because burns are based on the area that they cover and the kind of area that they cover. It was actually based on the Coconut Grove fire of the 1940s, where there was over 400 burn victims. Two doctors afterwards actually worked together and came up with the percentage charts that they use now for determining how burned someone is. Like when they say like they have burns covering 60% of their body, there is actually a chart you can use where you look at where the burn area is, and based on where it is on the body, it gets assigned a certain percentage. Like your head is a much higher percentage for, say, like getting a burn on your cheek is a much higher percentage than getting a burn on your arm. Posture check? Okay. And with the degrees of the burn, it actually is about how deep the burn penetrates. Like a first degree burn mostly affects the dermis of your skin. Second degree burn goes deeper. You can get like blisters and swelling and stuff. Third degree burns is when it hits the air layers below the dermis and you start getting things such as nerve damage. Yeah, that's what that means. It's really fascinating to look at the charts and stuff to see how they track it. I would look it up, but one of the problems is TOS and stuff. Hold on, if I look it up in a different window, I think I'll be able to look at it without putting it directly on stream first, so I can check to see if it's going to be a problem. Hello, Josh of the Zombies. Yeah, this is one of my favorite fields. This is just me info dumping all night. Because the chart is just a body with the different areas mapped out. So I think this should be a fine image to show. But I didn't want to show like actual burns out of respect to the people with burn victims. And also, yeah. So they have a relative percentage of body surface area affected by growth. So it depends on how old someone is and their size. Like a young child is... half their head is burned, it's going to be a bigger percentage than someone who's older. Or like their torso, because the head is still a serious problem no matter what. Yeah, so this chart was actually designed after the Coconut Grove fire of the 1940s. Your fave subject is bio? Hell yeah. Yeah, and then like the groin, the hands, the head are all like very big areas. If you get burns there, they count a lot. As long as people are having fun, whether or not you're absorbing it is no big deal to me. I'm not going to test you guys on it. Psych, there's going to be a test at the end of the stream. 40% of your grade. Oh, you're at your cousin's birthday party? How you doing? So let's see what other fun stuff I can tell you from this notebook. Did you know that every amino acid inside your body faces left except glycine? Because there is no way for glycine to actually have a rotation because it's not... what's the word for it? Chiral. It's achiral because every single amino acid in your body has an orientation in space. It's like your hands. If you can't put your hands on top of each other and have them be the same. They're mirrors of each other. So you have a left and a right. And the amino acids are the same way. They have a carboxylic acid side group, a amine side group, and a hydrogen, and then they have a side chain that's specific to that amino acid. So for the amino acids, they can face left or they can face right, and every single one in the human body faces left. The right-facing ones don't work in the human body because enzymes and other parts of your body cannot process them because they're the wrong shape. It's the lock and key fit or the induced lock and key fit of enzymes. But because glycine has, let me go back to the good old MS Paint. I gotta find a way to just, hold on, I think I can just clear it if I fill it with white like this. But the thing is, because glycine is built like this, you have the H3N, you have the central carbon, you have an H, then you got the COOH, the carboxylic acid, the amine. That's why they're amino acids, because they have a amine side group and a carboxylic acid side group, and this is true of every amino acid. But then, because glycine has two H's, two of the same side group, that means it's not chiral. Because it just isn't. Like, it's always, you can always flip it around and get the same orientation. It would be like if you had two right hands or two left hands. And with form determining function, that's actually why there's multiple types of epithelial tissue. Because epithelial cells have a similar build, but the difference in their structure determines the function that they perform. Let me pull up a chart of epithelial cells. So if you look at the different types of epithelial cells, you have the, whoa, that's way too big. Let me just, there we go. So the simple squamous epithelial cells are very thin and they go on each other like scales. Because this is similar to how your skin is built. The top layers of your skin are squamous as well. Because they're subject to a lot of pressure and pulling and force. So having this layered, thin style helps give them protection and protect the body from various issues. And then for the ciliated columnar epithelium, that's for absorptive tissue. Having these little cilia, which is Latin, I believe, for hairs, that helps because it expands the surface area to be able to absorb more. You remember epithelial cells vaguely from HBS? Yup. Shout out to Mrs. M. The best. Mrs. M and Mrs. W. Love them. And then you have cuboidal epithelial cells, which are involved with adsorption. They're in your kidneys and your glands, and they help absorb and secrete signaling molecules, which are another major part of tissue engineering. And then the columnar cells are also good at absorbing because they have a lot of area to help absorb. Yeah, form determines function. So these are all very similar in how they're built because they're all epithelial cells, but just changing the shape of them makes them do very different tasks in the human body. Anybody have any questions? No questions? Okay. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out, I think I got it in my notes about what I got to do for my final project. Yeah. But also the endocrine system, endocrine and exocrine, it's actually really cool to study because that's how hormones work. Hormones are signaling molecules. There's autocrine, juxtacrine, paracrine, and endocrine. And those are all based on how close they are to each other. Like autocrine is when a cell sends signals to itself. So like a cell can send out a signal to itself to have positive or negative feedback, and then messages can also be sent to the cells right next to them, or even cells that are very far away using the bloodstream. certain signaling molecules such as testosterone and estrogen. Shout out to all the trans people in the chat. You know what's what. If you're on hormones, you can be trans and not on hormones, and that's perfectly valid. Hell yeah, Kepi Dog City. Yeah, and there's a lot of stem cells are a really cool part of research too. There's a lot of places that you can get stem cells from. Did you know that the dental pulp in your teeth has stem cells? So in some cases they can take your teeth to get stem cells, but it's a very small amount for the size of your teeth, and you still need teeth. So they usually try not to take it. You can actually also turn adipose tissue, like fat cells, into stem cells. Dental pulp, yes. It's the stuff inside of your teeth that has stem cells in it. Yeah, every time you drink orange juice with pulp, you're drinking the orange's teeth. Yes, there's pulp in your teeth. That's just what they call it. It's like a softish tissue. Yeah, so for the final project, I have to identify a tissue engineering related problem, and it has to be very specific. So my idea was looking at the lack of sweat glands that grow in regenerated tissue after burns, but even that's kind of too broad. So I was going to look at focusing in on something else a bit. And then you have to look at what has been done already and what challenges remain, and you have to propose a solution with rationale and a specific approach. Such as, I could make a new scaffold to help make new skin. You guys like skin, right? Everybody's got skin here. I hope. Skin, 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 skin. God, I just peeked to the red with that. I should probably not hit my coffee table. Yeah, sure. Is there something you want to share with the rest of the chat, Bubbly Milk? Yes, Arnie Magnuson of Half-Life 2, Episode 2, loves skin. Fuck. I did that wrong. I fucked up. Cringe fail on stream. Yeah, and there's actually... You're late because you had to tutor because you're here for skin. Hi, Minerva! Hey, good on you for tutoring. Knowledge is power, and it's the only currency that matters in the misinformation age. So, let's see. Scaffolds are really cool. Because scaffolds are how they help to build new tissue. Have you guys ever heard of a ghost heart? I'm going to see if I can get a photo that I can pull up on stream. Because a ghost heart is when you take a human heart, or a heart, any heart really, you can remove all of the cells on the heart and just leave the extracellular matrix, and it leaves a ghost heart, which is like a white, perfect structure of a heart that's made of just extracellular matrix and nothing of the original person. And then you can put that and grow new cells on it from, say, say you take a heart from a donor, you wash away the donor's cells, and so it's just left with the extracellular matrix, and then you can grow the recipient's own cells onto the ghost heart so that the heart is recognized by the body as theirs completely. You saw a guy on YouTube do that with a grape? Jesus Christ. A meat grape? Hello? You know what? Fuck this. Fuck you. Slurps all the cells out of your heart. Meat grape is too fucking cursed for me. I used to work in a hospital. That's too fucking cursed for me. He loves meat grape. Arnie Magnuson does not love meat grape. I'm taking a strong stance right here. I'm taking a strong no meat grape stance. Hold on. Where the fuck is the brush? Is that red? No, that's red. There, this is a meat grape. You wanted to see what we do to meat grapes? We say no. We say no to the meat grapes. Do I want the link to meat grape? Yes. Put the link to the meat grape in the chat. That's a fucking meatball. Hey, don't. That's a terrible thing to say. That's like when people on Tumblr used to say shit like a Pop-Tart is a calzone, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. It's not. A Pop-Tart is a Pop-Tart. A calzone is a calzone. You're not gonna put cheese inside of a fucking Pop-Tart. Oh shit. Why the fuck did I just say tube instead of tune? I've been watching too many Sockpin streams. What the fuck are you guys talking about with Italian stuff? Meat grape's just a level 2 meatball. Italian dark secret's bad. GLaDOS voice. Black Mesa beat us to making the meat grape again. Why the fuck did I say tube in? What is wrong with me? This should be a YouTube thumbnail, like... If anyone wants to make this a YouTube thumbnail, I'm gonna save this image. Mine now. I'll make that my next album cover. So, what was I gonna talk about? Oh yeah, conventional techniques for making 3D scaffolds. Because scaffolds are really cool. Pull the mic out of the can. So with scaffolds, those are really important for growing cells properly, because if you use the wrong scaffold, if you're trying to make brain tissue, you can make a totally different type of tissue. Because depending on the posture check... I'm sitting fine. I'm just squatting. I'm just Slav squatting on the floor right now. It's fine. My back's fine. I don't actually own a chair that I can sit in to stream. So I just sit on the floor in front of my coffee table and Slav squat. Oh yeah, and for channel points, if anyone's interested in spending channel points, for 666 channel points, I can recommend you a song or a movie. You just have to click on the record or the VHS tape. Can one invent new tissue? No. Not in a human way. What is that, an orangutan? The primate raising hand, asking question. That's a good emote. Okay, so the thing is, there's only a set amount of tissues that are human. Like, I can't make some incredibly fucked up thing out of, like, peanut butter and brain cells and say it's a new tissue. I can't put marshmallow fluff in the extracellular matrix of a brain and say that I just made the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I'm pretty sure the Internal Review Board would send me to prison for ethical violations if I did that. But you can, depending on the cells you use and then the extracellular matrix. I'm not saying you can't make new tissue. You just can't make new human tissue. There's only a certain amount of tissues that are recognized as human. Forbidden Science, if you want to make the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, I legally cannot stop you, but I also legally cannot approve of it. If you can do it, do it. So with making 3D scaffolds, the kind of scaffold that you use is just as important as the kind of cells that you use. Like for the brain tissue is softer than mucus. If you guys want an idea of that. Like, you know how you can smear a booger on the wall? You can do that with brain tissue. It's like just about or maybe slightly better than, it's just around mucus. Like there's a brain floating head. Yeah, pretty much. And when you have hydrocephaly, water on the brain flow too much, brain drown in water. Yeah, your brain is pretty much like a jelly consistency that you can smear. So if you use a scaffold that doesn't account for how gooey the brain is, then your whole thing won't work because the cells won't recognize that they're brain cells if they're not in an environment that is signaling to them that they are brain cells. Yeah, here's a fun fact for everyone tonight. You're all so gooey. You need armor? That's what your bones are for. But your bones are also gooey on the inside. You are simply squishy. I can simply poke you and watch you move and jiggle. Okay, so that was that when I was talking about that. Yeah. So, what's interesting too with communication, like say for a 3D scaffold, you know how I know it's a trypophobia thing for a lot of people, so I'm not going to pull up images, but a lot of the scaffolds are hollow. Like you have to be able to fit the cells in there and stuff, so it's not solid. It has to have channels and pores. So, how the pores are connected is also really important. Like, one of my classmates just did a presentation yesterday because we all had to do presentations about stuff where they were testing using rods in the tissue that they were growing to make specific channels in the scaffolds, and having specific long channels inside the scaffolds help these cells to grow better and with better directions because the signaling molecules could reach the cells easier to tell them what to do. It's really very cool. So you can actually use typically the conventional method right now is using a salt polymer and a solution, and then you leach the salt out of the scaffold to make the pores, but the problem is you can't really control how the salt is inside of the scaffold, which leads to a lot of dead pores that aren't connected to anything and don't work very well as pores because they can't take things in or send them out. So we've been trying to look for new methods to build better scaffolds, and 3D printing is actually becoming a really big part of it. Being able to 3D print these very small scaffolds. And using carbon nanotubes is also really big too, because graphene, which is carbon and nano stuff, can conduct electricity really well, which is important for signaling because the three main types of signals that cells can respond to are mechanical, chemical, and electrical. And we were trying to solve the conventional problem of the salt channels by using an aqueous solution, freezing it, and then letting it dry, and then thawing it out and then vacuum drying. Because the thing is, you don't get as many dead pores because of the way the crystal structures form, but you have no control over the pore size, which is another problem because you need to be able to control everything about it: the amount of pores, how they're connected, the size of them. Good fucking lord. Can I send a message begging you to let me do this? Yeah. So scaffolding is really cool as a final project idea. So I was debating looking at building a new skin scaffold. ¿Quieres? Me handing some skin to you. ¿Quieres? So, let's see. What else was I going to look for? Oh, yeah, I was going to look at the Journal of Tissue Engineering to see if they had anything for it. We can read an article together. Journal of Tissue Engineering and Regenerative Medicine. And I'm not telling you guys if you need to get a journal article that you should take the DOI and put it in Sci-Hub and get the pirated copy for free to read instead of hiding stuff behind a paywall. I'm definitely not telling you to do that, but I am saying that the National Institute of Health in the United States funds a lot of medical research in the United States with American tax dollars. And then they want to charge not only the people who are putting the stuff in the journals to pay for the privilege of putting their articles in journals, they also want to make people pay for access to them. Yeah, I'm definitely not talking about... Don't go here. This is a website where you can pirate articles. Don't go to this website. Do not go to this shadow library. Because that's piracy, and piracy is wrong. But I am simply saying that the books marks it. I'm looking away. I do not see it. I am saying that the National Institute of Health, if they're funding the research, then you already, if you're an American paying tax dollars, you already paid for that research partially. And the research people, they're not getting paid for their articles. It's not like they're an author getting published. I mean, they are based on the wording, but it's not like a novel or something. They have to pay to get their stuff put in a lot of these journal articles. Also, hey Radbasad, how you doing? Now, where the hell was that when I was looking at? I was looking at a really cool study they did in mice with magnesium hydroxide in a PLGA tissue. Yeah, hi, how you doing? I didn't see you in chat before. I guess I just didn't notice. Okay, here. Yeah, journals that give you the full article are cool and we support them. So this was something that I studied with spinal fusion. One of the problems that they talked about is pseudoarthrosis, when the two vertebrae that they're trying to fuse don't grow enough bone to actually fuse together. That's a big side effect. So they were coming up with a new method of adding magnesium hydroxide and bone morphogenic protein 2 to a PLGA mixture, which is a type of scaffold, and then putting it there with the bone to help it heal, and they were actually able to grow so much more bone. And there was also interesting is one of the issues with PLGA is the side effects, because with scaffolds you want them to break down over time. You don't want them to linger in the body. You want the body to use it up in a certain period of time. Changes depending on what tissue you're talking about, so that the body can go back to being itself instead of foreign stuff. So using the PLGA is good because it breaks down, but one of the issues is the breakdown of PLGA is lactic acid and glycolic acid. It's acid byproducts, which is an issue because changing the pH can change the cellular microstate, which can affect how the cells function, and can even be cytotoxic if it's too acidic or too basic, because cells function at a specific pH. Your body is very finely tuned. So then what they did was then they added the magnesium hydroxide to slow the rate of the release of BMP2 to release more over time instead of ineffectively dumping it. They found out that because the particle that's released when the magnesium hydroxide breaks down, hydroxide is a base. When you mix the magnesium hydroxide breaking down with the PLGA breaking down, the acid and the base reacted together and it neutralized the acidity to keep it at the better microenvironment. The mice that they were studying who had the magnesium hydroxide had less inflammation at the site than the other types of mice did. Isn't that cool? Yeah, so this was the change in pH for the different ones. Change of pH value and percentage of residual weight. Yeah, so if you look at it, why is the figure so small? What the fuck? It looked even smaller when I tried to open it up. So these changes in acidity over time were very cool to look at. Because being able to maintain, if you see here, there was a much less of an issue with the pH dropping with the magnesium hydroxide mix compared to the ones that didn't have the magnesium hydroxide. Sorry, that water went down the wrong pipe and is fighting me really badly right now. And this was the biocompatibility test. So if you look at these after like 1 day, 3 days, 7 days, the biocompatibility of this showed that the live cells in the magnesium hydroxide category with the BMP2 took up a lot more of it than the other cells, which means biocompatibility is a very important part, because when you put something in the human body, you want it to not be rejected, because if it gets rejected, you're screwed. So being able to have it be accepted like this and proliferate throughout the cells is a really good sign for healing. Oh, and here's a really cool photo of the spines with the fusion. Like, you can see how much better it fused physically on the mouse comparing the different ones. And one of the biggest advancements, according to my notebook, that we've made in the last 20 years for scaffolds that I was talking about is actually making gradient structures. Because one of the issues that we had was they had to pretty much be the same through and through when we were first starting out, because we didn't have the kind of advancements to be able to make gradients where things can change. But there's a lot of gradients in your body. Your muscle cell, the control of your muscles is a gradient. The acidity of different parts of your body is a gradient, or just a strong barrier depending on the mucus that's protecting your stomach, the rest of your body from your stomach acid. God, fucking meat grape. I just got reminded of that. What the fuck? They put meat on a grape. My head is physically in my hands right now remembering meat grape. Is that gonna be my next emote? When I hit the 3rd emote slot, is it gonna have to be fucking meat grape? Meat grape beloved, meat grape my beloved. In this house we say fuck meat grape. No meat grape. You guys want fucking meat grape as the 3rd emote? Are you kidding me? No. No. God, I don't even know how many subscriber points I have right now. I don't even know when I'm gonna get the 3rd slot. Like, good fucking luck getting meat grape, everybody. I feel like I'm gonna live to regret those words. And what's really cool with the making scaffolds out of other tissues, and one of the issues is trying to keep stuff sterile before it goes into the body, because you want to reduce the amount of outside contaminants that end up within the body of the person that you're helping. So there's a lot of different ways to sterilize things, and they have okay, one of the things that they can do is they can actually put gas, either formaldehyde or ethylene oxide. They'll basically flood the tissue with gas to kill anything off that's in it. But then the issue is, you can't really fill someone with formaldehyde or ethylene oxide. Those gases are toxic and will kill them. So what you do is you take that same tissue and then you put it in a gas bath of nitrogen, N2, and then you also use 70% ethanol to wash away the toxic gas. Yeah, because the thing is, it's a gas, because the gases are able to penetrate the tissue really well. So you set a flow up of ethylene oxide or formaldehyde over the tissue and it can penetrate way deeper than if you're trying to use UV cleaning, you're only going to get the surface. It's not going to penetrate very deep. Same issue happens with some of the other types of cleaning they can do. They really only hit the surface, or like 70% oxide can hit 70% ethanol can hit the surface pretty well, but it's not able to penetrate deep like a gas. But if you use formaldehyde or ethylene oxide and then you hit it with the nitrogen gas and then 70% ethanol, you can sanitize the tissues before they're put into another person. Yeah, one of the other issues that this field runs into, though, is there is a lot of scientific fraud. What was those ones she was telling me about? It resulted in unfortunately, a professor's suicide. I think there was called something like this, but this one. Not artificial. What was the one that she was telling me about? My professor was telling me about an issue where this woman, who was a PhD candidate, came up with these fake cells that were supposedly like able to grow in an environment cells had never been grown in before. And I think it was in Japan. Okay, so you see all these categories right here, the scientific misconduct? This is a dynamic list and may never be able to satisfy the particular standards for completeness. You can help by adding missing items or expanding this list. So there is a list of scientific misconducts where scientific misconduct, people need to publish or perish in the system. If you're not putting out research and you're not getting results, then you're not going to be able to survive pretty much. It's a very cutthroat thing. So one of the problems is people will falsify or fabricate data, and look at how many sections there are. There are 8 sections on this Wikipedia page of the different types. I need you to look at how long it takes me to scroll through the biomedical section. We're still going. There we go. This is just for biomedical sciences. Trying to remember the one I was thinking of. Because it was a really interesting case with the issue. Because the thing is, with the data that she fabricated, no one would have noticed if she hadn't been trying to revolutionize the field. Like, there's lies you can get away with, because one of the problems with the way that we have science set up now, oh yes, it was the STAP cell, not the SCAP cell. STAP cells were the ones that she did. Haruko Obokata of Riken. Former stem cell biologist. Because the thing is, she's very smart. She got really far, but she faked her data in the worst way possible. Because the thing is, this is a really big field that a lot of people are looking at. And if you're falsifying certain things, there's certain things you can falsify where everyone's trying to find unique ideas and no one can get the funding to double check stuff, really. So if you're not trying to revolutionize the field, it's very hard for people to call you on your shit just because no one has the funding to go back and test things properly. But because pluripotent stem cells are a major field, she fucked up because she tried to do something too revolutionary. Because she said there was stimulus-triggered acquisition of pluripotency, where if you take cells and you put them under pressure, you can make them become pluripotent stem cells again, which everyone thought was impossible, and it is. Because the problem is, STAP would have been a radically simpler method of stem cell generation than previously researched methods, as it requires neither nuclear transfer nor the introduction of transcription factors. Basically, if this was real, it would have revolutionized the whole field, so people were very interested in it. But the problem is, she published her paper, and then no one could redo it. No one could replicate her results. So the thing is, if she had done something smaller that no one would have double checked, she probably could have gotten away with it. But the problem is, this is something people are interested in, so it raised way too many red flags, because it sounded too easy. It basically, hold on. You know what I just realized looking at this with the physical trauma, weak acid, or bacterial toxin? Do you guys know DC Comics at all? Anybody in the chat know DC Comics? Sorry, I was taking a sip of water. This is just the concept of the fucking metagene from DC Comics. She literally ripped off DC Comics. Because the metagene in DC Comics is what gives a lot of ordinary humans their superpowers when exposed to stressful situations. Like, if you guys watch the Young Justice cartoon, they used it to make some of the characters like Static Shock. They're like, oh, Virgil had a metagene and it got activated by electric shocks, and now he has electricity powers. The Reach did experiments on him and he got superpowers in Young Justice. Like, this concept is just the fucking metagene from DC. Like, how did she think she was gonna get away with it? Yeah, check this story out. It is wild. Yeah, so once again, looking at the page, it's so easy to falsify stuff for things like this, but the problem is, I'm actually interested in the field, so I'm not going to. I'm gonna actually have to be honest and come up... Oh, excuse me, the water is fighting me again. I'm gonna find something better to drink during streams that doesn't make me feel like I'm choking. Yeah. So I have to actually find something that works for my project that we're working on tonight. This motherfucker. This is the motherfucker that has ruined my life. Andrew Wakefield has ruined my life. This man has had 2 papers redacted, lost his medical license, and the respect of anybody with a brain, because this is the man who is responsible for the fraudulent claim that the MNR vaccine causes autism, and he is basically the founder. His work is the blueprint for the modern anti-vax movement. Andrew Wakefield is the man responsible for saying that vaccines cause autism. And fucking Jenny McCarthy was right there with him, popularizing it among the general population. Fuck Andrew Wakefield. All my friends hate Andrew Wakefield. Every single scientist worth their salt hates Andrew Wakefield. Fuck this man. And this is the Wikipedia page he gets to stay on with his scientific misconduct that has ruined so many lives. Because that's the problem too with this stuff. It's funny to say, oh, this is just like the metagenes from the DC Comics, with trying to say that physical trauma can basically make cells into supercells. This has real consequences. Lying about your science and falsifying data has real consequences that hurt actual people. That's something that some of these people forget sometimes, because they want money, they want success, they want their name on something. The whole reason he faked this, he knew his stuff was bullshit, he knew he was selling bullshit, but he did it because he wanted to come up with his own MMR vaccine that would make more money for him, because people would go to his instead of the regular, perfectly fine, perfectly safe MMR vaccine, because they would be afraid that the other one would cause autism, so they would flock to him and give him all of their money Because God forbid your fucking kid is autistic. So the thing is, faking your data like this has real consequences that can hurt people. Running science as a business has brought nothing but misery. What the fuck are they faking in plant biology, though? Oh, only 2? Plagiarized 80% of his thesis concerning asparagus cultivation. Plant drama is funny. Okay, so this guy just plagiarized his whole PhD. Yeah, and the thing is, too, with the fight about different vaccines and stuff, there are. Why would you plagiarize your plant science? I don't know. The spinach can send emails now. Pretty soon the spinach is going to be publishing their own articles, and then we can have a spinach plant on this website once spinach learns how to do scientific misconduct. There were. Because an interesting story that reminds me of is there were 2 polio vaccines in production at the same time. There was the Salk vaccine, and then the other vaccine was... Yeah, Jonas Salk made the polio vaccine. We love Jonas Salk. Because Jonas Salk, you want to know what he did when he invented the polio vaccine? He allowed it to be for everyone. It's not behind a he tried to make it so it wasn't behind a massive paywall. Anybody who needed it could have access to it. He wanted to give it to everybody. Because when he was asked about it for treating and preventing poliomyelitis, he said, "Could you patent the sun?" We love Jonas Salk. We stand Jonas Salk. And he hated the celebrity that came with pretty much being the person to almost single-handedly stop polio. Sabin also came up with the polio vaccine. Jonas Salk and Albert Sabin are the 2 men who made the oral polio vaccine, which I believe is given in developing countries because it's easier to transport. And then Salk made the vaccine that's well known in the United States with the injections. These 2 men realized when they made their vaccines just how important it was to not go after money or fame or fortune, but to go and to share it with the world the way science is intended to. And he didn't want special recognition or anything about it. After he cured polio, he went right back to work. I'm trying to remember the second thing he worked on afterwards. Because of these 2 men and the research that they did, and not just them, but the labs that they worked in and their research assistants, because pretty much no one is working alone. Yeah, he founded an institute for studying stuff, and he focused his last years on a search for a vaccine against HIV. Like, this man, he pretty much cured polio. He prevented more polio cases from happening, and then he just went back to work and kept working on science, kept trying to shine a light. That's a man we honor, not this motherfucker. This man is a stain. I gotta go back to where I had my project notes to get started on this, because I should probably focus on starting this project like I said this whole stream was about. Yeah, but there's a lot of stories in science. There may be a lot of guys like this, but there's also a lot of guys like Jonas Salk. So let's see, what was I gonna focus on? I was gonna focus on burns, so it was, I need to make it super specific, so I'm gonna get started with constructing. This needs to get more specific. So let's look in the journals and see if they have anything. I'm gonna move it into the one that's off screen because I'm not sure what sort of results will pop up when I start googling burn stuff. Because burns are something that we're very bad at still healing. Because one of the issues that people can die from if they lose a lot of their skin is hypothermia. Your skin is what prevents you from losing all of your body heat. And your skin is also a major protector against infection. It's like the first line of defense. So a lot of burn victims end up getting secondary infections if they lose major portions. So they've started looking at not only grass and donations, but also looking at artificial skin. Which is a really cool field to look at. Your skin is your body's fluffy blanket. Hey, other, unless you're a furry, I hope your skin isn't fluffy. Are you confessing to being a furry in my Twitch chat? Yeah, but it does keep all the heat in. The way skin transfers heat is really interesting. It's one of the problems with... You're a furry? I'll let it slide. Furries are allowed here, it's fine. I'm cool with furries. I don't have a persona, I just have a little robot mascot. Goofcat is a furry. Goofcat is a person. I have seen him, and I stole his dog. You have a lot of hair. I want to say I'm not. I don't, but I do. The curse of being Italian is I look like I'm gonna turn into the fucking Wolfman. Oh, here's a cool article. It's more of an overview, so I'll have to probably follow it to its sources to read more, to get the right info, because it's not supposed to be like an article review, it's supposed to be actually coming up with stuff. Hold on, I'm gonna get a sip of water before I start reading this out loud. I gotta get more water. Ooh, yeah, I do need a posture check though, because I realized I was sitting on my knee and I gotta crack it. So, let's take a look at this article. Sorry, I got distracted by the side. It's like going on a Wikipedia rabbit hole where you see like 5 other things you want to click on and then suddenly you have 40 tabs open and your computer is just ready to kill itself. So the article we are looking at right now is Tissue Engineering of Skin and Regenerative Medicine for Wound Care. Hold on, here's another one for you guys. First I'm going to make a little funny drawing. Here's a summary of every fucking article I've read about this. Skin. Good. And speaking of which, engineering of biologic skin substitutes has progressed over time from individual applications of skin cells or biopolymer scaffolds to combinations of cells and scaffolds for treatment, healing, and closure of acute and chronic skin wounds. Skin substitutes may be categorized into three groups: acellular scaffolds, temporary substitutes containing allogenic skin cells, and permanent substitutes containing autologous skin cells. Combined use of acellular dermal substitutes with permanent skin substitutes containing autologous cells has been shown to provide definitive wound closure in burns involving greater than 90% of the body total surface area. Holy fuck. I was trying to do a funny announcer voice, but I'm genuinely impressed by that. Because 90% is a big fucking number. So basically for this one, it looks like so far they take the substitute and then they mix your own cells into it as kind of like a growth factor so that you can grow your own skin, and then they reapply it. These advances have contributed to reduced morbidity and mortality from both acute and chronic wounds, but to date have failed to replace all of the structures and functions of the skin. So that's what I was talking about earlier. One of the big problems that they run into is being able to grow hair and sweat glands. So it's, just as they say, among the remaining deficiencies in cellular or biologic skin substitutes are hypopigmentation, absence of stable vascular and lymphatic networks, absence of hair follicles, sebaceous and sweat glands, and incomplete innervation. So basically a lot of the problems they run into is the new skin that they grow, the blood cells can't get to the skin properly, so it doesn't have the kind of blood flow or lymph flow that it needs. So it doesn't protect against infection as well, because the lymphatic system helps with your defense against stuff. The lymph nodes, what they do is lymph flows through your body, but not in the way your blood does. While blood is active pumping by the heart, lymph is just kind of chilling. That's why with lymphedema, when you have issues with your lymph nodes, your feet get so full of that water stuff. That's lymph just filling up your feet and turning them into balloons. So because it doesn't get as much blood or lymphatic stuff, and also the lack of innervation means that you don't get the nerve cells properly. I don't know about you guys, but I think I remembered sharing it a while ago. I got a pretty serious burn on my dominant hand. I accidentally got a wet burn where I dunked it into a bowl of boiling pasta water. I fucked up real bad. Cringe injury. The drain cap got stuck in my sink after I poured my pasta into the colander, and I fucked up because the thing is, I was exhausted at that point because it was like November. So because of the pandemic and everything going on, I'd been overworked in school because I was taking like 6 classes at once, and I was typically getting about 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. So my brain was malfunctioning. My brain was like Swiss cheese. I don't remember most of that time period. So I looked at the cap that was in the water, and the problem is when I poured it in the sink, it was still boiling, but it wasn't bubbling. So my brain was like, because the problem is I'd been cleaning stuff in the sink earlier too, and the drain cap, it kept falling in. So it'd been full of regular water when I'd been cleaning stuff, and it was full again of water. So my brain was like, just stick your hand in and grab it again. You've done it like half a dozen times tonight while you were making pasta, and it was fine. So I put my hand in there. I got a 1st-degree burn on my entire dominant hand. The whole thing up to the wrist was just dunked into hot water. So naturally, I started cursing like a fucking sailor. I turned on the sink and I ran it under the cold water, and then I filled a big bowl with ice water and I just shoved it in there. Well, not ice water. You're not supposed to use ice water. You're supposed to use cool, lukewarm water to help cool the burn. Because if you directly put it in ice water, you can shock it and make it worse. You fool. Yes, I'll admit it was a clown injury. So one of the problems is afterwards I had a pretty numb hand because I hurt it. You know, you put boiling water inside of your fucking hand, it's gonna hurt. So sometimes I still have problems where my hand, I can definitely tell that it's a lot less sensitive than my left hand that didn't get burned. For a little while afterwards, it felt like I was wearing an oven mitt. It was like I had a hand, and I knew I still had a hand and stuff, and I could use my hand. Luckily, the main thing is I didn't lose use of it. But it definitely felt less sensitive. I couldn't sense things as well, especially on my fingertips. because they got dunked the longest. Just by nature of how it is when you stick your hand vertically into water. So innervation is a big problem. And then this is what I was talking about focusing on in absence of hair follicles, sebaceous, and sweat glands. So sebaceous glands secrete that stuff that turns into the gunky shit in your hair if you don't take a shower enough. And enough depends on who you are, because I know different hair types have to take showers at different intervals to prevent sebaceous buildup. But basically, that kind of waxy stuff helps keep your skin, it helps lock in moisture and prevent your cell from drying out too quickly and keeps your skin from cracking and stuff. And the sweat glands help with thermal regulation, because if you can't sweat, you can't cool down. That's why dogs don't have sweat glands, which is why they have to pant out their tongue, because it's the only way they can use evaporative cooling is with their tongue. Which is why you have to be careful about not overheating dogs. And then the hair follicles are a problem, because hair follicles are important for not just the appearance, but also having as like a sensory thing, and also, yeah, appearance-wise, burns are a very disfiguring thing for a lot of people. And the hypopigmentation is because they lack melanocytes. So the skin, you can tell when someone's been burned a lot. It's very obvious when someone has a burn where it's hypopigmented, which is why for some burn victims, what's interesting that people are doing is they use cosmetic tattoos to help tattoo the skin to be closer in color to the skin that the person already has. I know they do it for regular burn, like fire burn victims, and also victims of acid burns. Because acid burns can disfigure the skin too when the melanocytes get destroyed, so they'll tattoo the skin to help try and improve the appearance. Okay, so correction of these deficiencies depends on regulation of biologic pathways of embryonic and fetal development to restore the full anatomy and physiology of uninjured skin. Elucidation and integration of developmental biology into future models of biologic skin substitutes promises to restore complete anatomy and physiology and further reduce morbidity from skin wounds and scar. This article offers a review of recent advances in skin cell therapies and discusses the future prospects of cutaneous regeneration. So this is a good article for me to get started with, because it gives a broad overview of other articles that I can go into for my research for a deeper dive. You want to let me paste this? Fuck it. Tissue. Respiratory report and management of inhalation injury, because that's one of the big problems that happens to people is, say like if you're in a house fire or something and you're breathing in that hot air, you can actually get burns on your lungs. It's really fucked up. Several of the most recent advances since 1980. When did this article come out? 2018. Okay, it's recent enough that I can get some good stuff. Because I was going to say, if it was made in like 1992, I'd be about 30 years, almost 30 years too late. And one of the things that they have to do for treating burns is they can't leave the old tissue and stuff on, so you have to like very carefully remove the old tissue to prevent the burn from getting worse, because you need to like, get rid of the old dead tissue to allow new tissue to grow, but it's a very painful process. Like, I wouldn't wish that on anybody for major burns. They're so hard to treat. Cutaneous burns can generate a continuum of injuries with increasing depth into the skin. Partial thickness burns often do not require grafting, and if debrided and treated with antimicrobial dressings, will heal spontaneously from regrowth of epithelial appendages to cover the wounds. So basically, for the smaller partial thickness burns that don't go all the way down, you still have the stem cells and the other cells there that can regrow to cover the area. But if they get infected or they don't heal properly, it's going to form scar tissue instead of regular tissue. So you'll need to get keratinocytes and other cells of the of epithelial tissue transplanted so that it can grow properly. So you can either get the conventional split thickness skin grafts, applications of keratinocyte suspensions or sheaths. So these are really cool because they basically take the cells and they put them in like a suspension, which is scaffold and stuff that I was talking about, scaffold and extracellular matrix, and you slap that on there, and then it grows to become actual skin through the keratinocytes and interacting with the skin cells around it. Oh, and widely meshed and expanded autografts or micrografts are applied to full thickness burns. So what this is like, you know how I was talking about how they'll take tissue from your thigh or your ass and put it on your skin, like if you get a burn on your arm or something? What they do is they kind of have to put perforations in the skin, because skin is pretty stretchy. So you'll take it and you'll mesh it, where you make it have holes and stuff so it's stretchier, and it looks almost like a fishnet pattern. And then you put it on the burn so that it can cover a much larger area with less tissue needed, and then it grows to cover up the mesh. It does lead to a very interesting scar pattern, though, because it doesn't heal. The areas that are the holes in the mesh almost heal to be like more typical scar tissue where it's pale and stuff. So you can tell if you look up the photos of it, but I'm not going to recommend it unless you got a stomach that can look up burn photos. It does end up with a scar pattern where you can actually see where the mesh was applied. And then what they also do is they try and deliver the ECM components I was talking about, like collagen and fibronectin, with growth factors to try and promote growth. Because if your cells that are too damaged to make it themselves, if you can't make it yourself, then store-bought is fine. Yeah, the granulation tissue is a big problem, because one of the things, too, with the way that certain things heal is you can also get, depending on the type of scar tissue you get, you can get hypertrophic scar tissue, or keloids, where the tissue is very raised and angry. You guys know what a keloid is, right? When there's too much scar tissue built up in one spot, so it forms like a growth. Those can be a big problem, especially if it's a big area that gets burned, because it limits the range of motion if you have it pulling and tugging, if it's too tight and it's too big. And also, you know, one of the things that you do have to think about is appearance, because traumatic injuries like this tend to make a big problem with the appearance of how things are afterwards. Yeah, so if you can get ones, like it says here, conversely, unmeshed sheet grafts applied as early as possible to critical areas such as the face, hands, feet, and perineum have been shown to reduce granulation tissue, minimize scar, and produce optimal functional and cosmetic outcomes. Yeah, so with that, if you can take a full skin and replace the skin as quickly as possible with new skin, that makes it heal a lot faster and the end results look a lot better. Because one of the issues is the basement membrane, your skin itself isn't vascularized. Like, it's the areas underneath that are vascularized in the basement membrane and the subdermis. But if you damage those, it's much harder to heal because they're the ones that are in control of the skin. As you guys have had skin flake off, right? Everybody here knows what skin is. It grows from the basement up, and it slowly gets like pushed up, and then it falls off when it hits the end. So one of the problems is if you lose the basement, you've got no real way to grow new skin. And then with the split thickness, you can put the skin. I know of it. Yeah, we're all just talking about skin here. So one of the problems that they run into is with the current ways that they do a lot of grafts, you get too much scar tissue and you don't get the stuff that makes skin important. Like, if you can't grow hair follicles and sebaceous glands and sweat glands, it just makes it so much harder to be in your body. There's a reason skin does the things that it does. And at the second and subsequent harvest of autografts, pigmentation becomes irregular and scars become more pronounced. What that means is a lot of the time I was saying, like, I should have drank a coffee before stream. My brain is having trouble focusing. But one of the things that happens is, like, they take it usually from your thigh or butt skin because that's a big area to take it from, and that can heal a lot faster. Unless you got burned on your butt, then you're kind of screwed. But the problem is you can do it once, and then it has to heal up. But the problem is that area now has to heal with scar tissue as well. So if you end up with scar tissue there, then you end up with it where it's just going to end up being scar tissue on top of scar tissue. So one of the other issues is with the passenger melanocytes. I got to see photos of it in class. If you don't sterilize the stuff properly and get the right cells growing, if you encourage too many melanocytes to grow, you end up with too much. When you have too many in it, it ends up with these big dark patches of melanocytes. And the problem is with those, it's not just the appearance that makes it a problem to put the big splotchy stuff on someone's body. If you put all those melanocytes on someone's body and it integrates and then they keep growing and they keep multiplying, you can just give someone melanoma. Yeah, and as I was saying, the absence of sweat glands is the most important with total body surface area burns because sweating is very important. I know I keep saying that, but I cannot stress enough how important it is to be able to sweat. I'll need to come back for this table. And then these are different things that are available, like skin substitutes and bovine collagen. This one is got bovine collagen and silicone. And you can also get grafts from cadavers. But one of the other problems with trying to get grafts from cadavers is trying to get it to match skin tones and also like other organ transplants because your skin is an organ. Trying to get it to match the human body properly without getting rejected. Because skin is something that can regenerate, so it's usually you're able to replace it with your own stuff if you can heal. But one of the problems is with cadavers and stuff, introducing foreign tissue like that can lead to rejection. Skin is the biggest organ. Yeah, it's not the heaviest, but it does have the biggest surface area. I think your heaviest organ is your liver. But I could be wrong. They can use pig skin. Porcine skin with storage by chemical fixation or lyophilization. This whole stream is just, here's a new word, you've never seen it before. You better pronounce this as soon as you see it. I'm like Parappa the Rapper. Pigs are really similar to humans? Yeah, we use pigs a lot for transplant science and testing. Like, usually, I think when it comes to transplants and stuff, when it moves to human trials, it's like mice, pigs, humans. And we do take a lot from pigs and cows for tissue. Because one of the other things, too, is pigs are pretty big. They got a lot of skin. You can take some skin from them and it's fine. And then this ties into what I was researching earlier that I mentioned earlier when I was showing that other article about the bone growth factor with the PLGA and the dermagraft. You can just take degradable scaffolds and slap them on there with like the collagen or the polylactic polyglycolic acid. And they deliver stuff to the wounds to degrade and give them tattoo artists practice on pigs all the time for the same reason. I mean, fuck yeah. I've practiced on pigs before, too. God, I've done unspeakable things to pigs in the name of science. Nobody fucking clip that. Somebody's gonna clip that. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I just scrolled down further and saw an actual burn. So I'm not gonna show that on stream because I figure that might be a bit too graphic. I'm sorry, everybody. It's such a good quote, though. Yeah, the thing is, with my high school that I went to, Mel and I went to the same high school. So Mel, my friend Mel, who's been on stream, you guys like my friend Mel. She might be streaming Warcraft soon. If she does, give her a follow. With the stuff I did in high school, I was in a track where I got to dissect not just a pig heart. We got full fetal pigs. They were all, like, preserved and stuff. It wasn't like we didn't have to do it ourselves. They came like dead, but you would get full fetal pigs. For I was in an anatomy class where I had to skin the pig. I was lucky in high school because I would find the kids that absolutely couldn't stomach dissection, and I would just make them my group project buddies, and I would just have them take the notes while I got to do everything. It was like the one time where I was really happy to have group mates that didn't want to do shit. So I got to skin the pig, and then I got to, like, go in and I got to look at all the organs and stuff. All you got were cow hearts. Yeah, but one of the things is that's really funny. I'm going to share the story instead since I can't really move farther in this article. I'm going to have to save it for later and move on to the next one because I don't want to show photos on stream. One of the things that we did was when we were doing dissections, we had to, like, take notes and stuff on the size of everything and the shape and all of that. Maybe we'll stream World of Warcraft. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Follow Mel. Watch World of Warcraft. So one of the things is the two girls I was with, they wanted to gossip with each other instead of taking the notes like I asked them to. Well, I was like... So the thing is, I got to the part where I needed to open up the rib cage, and they kept taking notes instead of writing down what I asked them to. So what I did was I cut the sternum, and then I had to open up the actual rib cage. So I was like, hey. So I got their attention. I looked them both dead in the eye. I was wrist deep in this pig, and I just cracked the rib cage open with my bare hands without breaking eye contact. And then I was like... And as I was staring at them, still prying the ribcage apart with my hands, I was like, hey, can you take these notes for me? We had some of the best notes in the whole class after that. Assert dominance through pig violence. Yeah, and then the other thing was I was in this class where we actually got to study forensics and forensic science. So what they did was the final project was really cool. Shout out to my school for doing this. They had a murder investigation where what they did was they got a whole bunch of teachers from around the school in on it to be like murderers, and then they took the different pigs and they did different stuff to the pigs and put them in different spots. So like we had a crime scene with a pig where we had a female baby pig, which is important because it comes up later, and we got the name of the victim. And the thing is, so we had the victim, we had the body, and we had to do an autopsy on the pig to see if we could get any info. Got the teachers to kill the pigs, shaking my head. It was so funny. Some of the teachers were like, if the kids figured out who they were, they did like a whole villain speech, like, and I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling kids. It was a lot of fun to be in that class. It was one of my favorites. So we had this pig, and I was doing the autopsy, and the thing is, because I was pretty much proving myself as one of the best in the class with a scalpel, I'm not tooting my own horn, I was definitively one of the best. And I was willing to do it, which a lot of kids weren't. And because I'd watched hundreds of hours of CSI and NCIS when I was younger, I was really psyched to do the autopsy. And one of the things was, I realized we had a female pig. So I was like, well, and what the teacher did was, you had to, for this class, when you got evidence, you had to go to the teacher with the evidence that you gathered and give it to the teacher, and then she would come back and give you the lab results, which is like already stuff that she knew, that already stuff they had, but if you did the steps properly, they would give you the information that you needed. So I did a rape kit on the pig. I took a swab and I swabbed the pig, and then I like put it in the baggie and labeled the evidence, and then I had to go to the teacher to ask for the information that we got from the lab results. And she was standing in the hallway talking to another teacher, and she was like just praising us. She was like, these kids are so talented, they're so smart, they're so good at this, they're so interested in their work. Oh, yes, Sarah, what do you need? And I was like, so I was standing there, I held the bag and I was like, hey, can I get a rape kit? And then she realized she fucked up. Because the problem is, the victim that we had a gender neutral name. And we had it was like, God, it's been ages, I can't remember the name, but it was something where it was like Dakota. Yeah, I think it was Dakota, where it's like, it could, gender norms for names is dumb, but like, it could be a man or a woman. And then, so the teacher that she was talking to just looked at me and looked at her like, what the fuck is this kid doing? And then my teacher realized the pig that we got was supposed to be a man. We were supposed to have a male victim as a pig, but no one had ever in the history of this class done a rape kit on a pig before. I was literally the first one who had ever thought to do that, because I watched way too much CSI. So then afterwards, she had to make it a part of like the process of setting these up. Like, make sure that you sex the pigs properly for the stuff. Because God forbid you have a trans pig, I guess. I don't fucking know. I didn't question it. I got my data and she realized she fucked up. And then the other kids had me walk around the room doing it for them because they had no idea how to do it, and I was the only one that did. But one of the kids recorded me for Snapchat. So there's probably still a Snapchat video of me doing unspeakable things to a pig in the name of science. And I was the one, and we didn't get to fully solve the murder by the end of the school year because we just ran out of time, but I did get to figure out it was a blunt force trauma to the head. Tempted to post the clip now. God. Yeah, so that was like the coolest thing I did in high school, was becoming the top student in the forensics class, because I'm on the spectrum, and my special interest for, God, at least the ages of like 8 to 12 was just watching Investigation Discovery and NCIS and CSI. Like, I was obsessed with forensics. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to be able to do that at school. What if I just said fucking and started playing Tetris? Because I feel like the problem is, all of this stuff is really fun to me, and I'm trying to make it fun for you guys. But I'm just sitting here speaking to a microphone about allotransplantation. Like, I'm not sure how are you guys feeling? Do you want me to go back to talking about stuff from my notebook? Oh, you guys love it? Okay. I want to make sure you're having fun, because I know with some people, even my friends in class are like, this stuff's boring, and then they skip class, and then they're like, hey, what happened in class today? I didn't go to class. I'm like, motherfucker, you should have gone to class. Yeah, I'm really interested in transplant stuff. The problem is too with looking it up again on stream is the photos are pretty graphic, but face transplants, I spent like a whole weekend recently, instead of doing my homework, researching face transplants. I mean, I did my homework, but I was regretting it by the end. Like, I should have just done my homework first. Because they've done about 40 partial and full face transplants at this point. And that is some really cool science. I'm glad you guys are having fun. Yeah, because with face transplants, a lot of the ones that they do them for now are burn victims, gunshot victims, and victims of animal attacks. Charla Nash of Connecticut is the famous one who was attacked by Travis the Chimp in 2009, where she lost her face and her hands, and she was one of the first well-known people in the United States to receive a full facial transplant. And they've also, doing face transplants has really revolutionized the field because they've started doing rehearsal surgeries. That's something they started doing now for face transplants because it's such a delicate and important operation, and it happens so rarely that people don't get as much practice as they should before the big show. So what they started doing is they've started taking cadavers and to practice the steps of it, because it can take like 15 to 30 hours to perform the surgery. But they work in shifts. No one's going to do a surgery for 30 hours straight unless you're really desperate, because that's a way for things to go wrong. So they'll do rehearsal surgeries where they take a cadaver and they transplant faces from one to the other to practice all the steps, because you have to sever certain nerves and leave other ones intact, because what you do is you move the motor nerves from the donor to the recipient, but the sensory nerves are supposed to grow in at a rate about 1 inch a month by themselves. So then the recipient is moving the donor's motor nerves, but it's the recipient's sensory nerves that are taking in information. And then they also have to move not only the muscles, but also some of the bones to try and get everything to fit properly. It's like a very intricate puzzle. So, like, and one of the other issues is, can you donate your face right now? No. Unfortunately, we are not at the point where it would be like the movie Face Off. We are only able to do cadaver donations, but here's a thing for chat. If you guys are capable of it, yeah, you want to keep that for right now. We're not really good at it yet. We're getting there, but you want to just keep what you have right now. We do have surgeries for altering your face if you're not comfortable with it for whatever reason, like dysphoria or whatever. There are surgeries we can do to change people's faces. But for the full transplant, you might just want to keep what you have right now. But but that does raise an important point with donating. If you guys are capable of it and you're able to, if you can, register to be an organ donor. It is so important and you can help so many people. I'm registered. Not that should sway anyone's opinion. I'm not trying to be one of those people who's like, yeah, listen to me. I'm just some dipshit on Twitch. But, like, registering for organ donation can be really helpful because, let's face it, if you're at the point where you're donating your organs, you're not going to use them anymore. Help somebody out. Can I have your body? When I'm done with it, someone's going to use it. I don't give a shit. When I'm done with it, I don't care. You've been registered since 18. It's a good use of it. Yeah, it's very good to become an organ donor if you're able to. And I know there's reasons why people can't, and I don't blame them. But if people are capable of it and able and willing, they should consider doing it. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give people because they can never... If you donate your organs to help others, there's no way for them to repay you. It's one of the greatest things you can do to help someone. Organs are the loot drop for when I die. Yeah, you guys can get some platinum kidneys. Yeah. So, and the burns are really fascinating because especially, like, medicine has advanced a lot even within the last 20 years. You want my oranges? No, you can't have my oranges. Typo in the chat. Hey, Rebellious Ramen, what are your pronouns? Your pronouns. Hand them over. She, they. Get her/their ass. Typo in the chat. So, like, the thing is, we've come really far with grafting and surgery. The field of plastic surgery was only invented in 1916 in the battlefields of World War I. we've come so far in such a short period of time, but there's still so much that we can do. Yeah, so it's been practiced for a little over 200 years. And the thing is, there is a much longer history to this kind of stuff. I even know I had to relook it up. I'm not gonna say it on stream because I'm not sure if it's right or not. But I think the idea that they did, there was an earlier doctor who, before they even started doing it in World War One, where I think they got the idea from, if someone loses their nose, you take the skin from their forehead and you cut it as a flap that's still connected, and then you fold it and twist it and sew it down where the nose was. Because then one of the problems is with before the invention of antibiotics in the 40s. If someone got an bacterial infection, it would just fall off. But if you keep it connected to the blood supply of the body and just very slowly do it, like you take it, you flip it, you twist it, you let it heal, you give it like a couple months or a couple weeks to grow, then you can have the body's immune system protect it while it's growing and healing, and then afterwards you go back and you shape it. There's a lot of photos from when they started plastic surgery in World War One, where there was guys, like there was one guy who had lost his whole nose, and over the years, like they did the twist and then they kept reshaping it, and over time, like they had photos like a couple decades later, because he'd been like a young man in World War One as a soldier, and then when he's like a middle-aged older man, like you could tell like he had a scar, but he had a nose again, which is like wild. Yeah, the donor site limitations are the problem because you only have so much skin, so if you burn in one part and you're trying to move it somewhere else, that becomes a major issue. You only have so much skin. Yeah. Am I wrong? You only have so much skin. The history of allogenic transplantations. Yeah, this is what I was thinking of, ancient Greece and Rome with the wound care. This sounds... Yeah, for organ transplantation, the thing I'm thinking of that I was telling the story about is is the field of plastic surgery, which is from 1916, but organ transplantation didn't start in full until 60 years ago. When was this article published? Speaking of 60 years ago, 2021. Oh, just came out last month. So that would have been, 1943 to 2021. That would have been 80 years ago. This is like 20 years off. That's fucked up. Hold on. Where was that? Hey, how many Half-Life Funny fans do I have in the chat right now? Sound off in the chat if you're here. You knew exactly what I was gonna fucking say. Bad news, Gordon. Necrosis has set in. Quote that lives in my brain rent free because this, you know how often this fucking comes up in the field that I study? You know how often necrosis sets in? Way too much. So every day I have to encounter necrosis, and then I have to encounter the little voice of Dr. Coomer in my head saying necrosis has set in, because it's so fucking funny. It happens way more than you think it does. And epidermolysis is your skin cells bursting. The Coomer brain rot. I like to think I don't have like brain rot or brain worms, but it's just that little thing that sits in my brain. What's another thing that does that? Like when there's like, you know, like when you hear the song Don't Stop Believing by Journey and you can't help but just sing along and lose it? It's like that. It's just chilling in there. I'm glad no one's done fan art in the Discord of the stuff I was talking about with the pigs, because I think that would just get me kicked off the internet. God, whenever someone even says the word passport, I don't have that problem, because I've had so many fucking problems with mine recently that it has totally been replaced in my brain. Like, I don't think of Half-Life funny when I think of that word. I think of, where the fuck is it? Is it still in the baggie? Because the problem is, I had an issue where I needed it earlier to do some government paperwork earlier in the year, and I told my mom, hey, I need it, when I was at the house that I live in when I'm not at school, technically. I'm technically transient, but I have a permanent mailing address in my aunt's house. So, but no one needs to know that, and no one needs to know where it is. So we're living there, and I was there, and I was like, hey, I need my passport. Can I have my passport? Because my mom holds on to all of my paperwork still. Because God forbid I have access to anything I need when I need it. And she was like, no, I'm not going to give it to you. You don't need it. You're just going to lose it. Guess who? So when they said they needed it, like, not even a week later, needed it. And guess whose mom had to spend $50 to overnight it and was like, why the fuck didn't you tell me you needed it? And I just sat there, and I just stared. We weren't even on a video call or anything. I was just sitting on the phone, and I just had to stare into the middle distance for a good, 5 to 10 minutes to cope with what I was hearing. So I got my funny little passport on hand now, $50 and an overnight USPS shipping later. So I had to go do the government thing. They didn't even ask for it. I had it with me, and nobody needed to look at it, even though they said they needed it. So then I'm sitting with my funny little passport and all my funny little documents that basically are the only reason that I exist on paper, all sitting together in my shitty little apartment. And then the fucking tornadoes happen. So we get 2 weeks of funny little tornado sirens going off. And of course, I had to keep evacuating to the shelters. You ever hit the point when you've been through so many potential natural disasters that... So what I did was, for evacuating, I put my passport in a sandwich bag, so in case anything happened, like wind or whatever, it wouldn't get wet, so I could have ID in case my whole apartment got wrecked. So we had about 2 weeks of tornadoes recently, where the siren was going off at least once a week, and there was touchdowns and stuff. There was a tornado maybe 10 miles from where I was that hit. So I had all my stuff, and by the end of the second week, with all of these tornadoes, they canceled classes because of the storm. So I was taking a nap on my couch, and I woke up, and I wasn't feeling well, and they warned me that a tornado was going to touch down nearby. And I realized in that moment, as I stood up off the couch to try and get ready to evacuate, I felt too sick to go to the shelter. So I sat there looking around my shitty little apartment and thought, If a tornado touched down and hits this place, I'm gonna die here. So you wanna know what I did, chat? I just went back to taking a nap. And then, of course, the tornado didn't touch down in our area, so I was fine. And now I'm here streaming for you on Twitch. Yeah, you guys know the point in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy just gives up and accepts her death and goes back to bed. I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting in here for the chat. They just keep talking about the same manufactured systems news. You know how many times I've seen this goddamn trademark name? Okay, I'll have to look at this article later because it's a lot of good info, but boring. Hey, have any of you ever seen a chemical safety board video? Speaking of natural disasters. Oh, you guys have never seen the chemical safety board videos? You guys want to watch one? They're basically after major chemical engineering industrial accidents, the chemical safety board is the ones that do investigations into what happened and establish the causes of it. And then they put together little videos. They're not graphic videos. They do show the aftermath of big explosions and stuff. The one that I'm thinking of was in West Texas. So they had I had to do a project on this last semester, so you can see it there, the explosion. So they go back and they read and they look at fires and explosions, and then they investigate what happened and just chemical safety accidents, and they're like, what went wrong? So there was a fertilizer factory that had 30 tons of fertilizer grade ammonium nitrate. That's the kind of stuff that, do you guys remember or know of the Alfred P. Murrah Oklahoma City bombing of 1995? That was approximately 2 tons of fertilizer grade ammonium nitrate. This was 30 tons. And one of the other problems is that I found out when I was doing the research is fertilizer grade ammonium nitrate is purer than bomb grade, explosion grade ammonium nitrate. So this factory had 30, it wasn't a factory, it was a place for like the fertilizer company. The farmers would go and they would mix fertilizer for them at the factory. And then they would just put it out. So the thing is, they had 30 tons of ammonium nitrate sitting in this facility. And then they had another 100 tons in a rail car directly adjacent to the facility. So that would have been 130. That would have been about 65 times the size of the Oklahoma City bombing if the rail car detonated. But thankfully the rail car did not detonate. So it just got knocked off the track. It was so powerful it pushed a 100-ton rail car off of the tracks it was sitting on. But it was only 15 times the power of the Oklahoma City bombing. But they were like, why was there so much of a problem with this fire in West Texas? Why did it cause so much damage? Well, the thing is, when they first built the fertilizer company in the 1960s, the fertilizer company was in the middle of nowhere. It was rural. It was away from the town of West Texas. But as the town of West Texas expanded, it kept encroaching closer and closer. Within 1 mile of this facility, there was a high school, a middle school, and a nursing home, along with residential residences. Less than 1 mile from a place with 30 tons of fertilizer grade ammonium nitrate. Yeah. And the thing is, there was much less of a. And the thing is, so I don't show the actual video, I'll just play the incident animation. Because people were there watching the fire as it happened, because there was a fire and then an explosion. So you know how it is with people. They'll stop and they'll watch the fire, and then they'll go towards the fire. They'll get closer to the fire. They'll be live streaming the fire, and then it explodes. So what they have to do is afterwards they'll also make these animations about what happened.
The West Fertilizer Company was a fertilizer retail and distribution facility in West Texas, 80 miles south of Dallas. There, ammonium nitrate and other chemicals used as fertilizers were stored in a 12,000 square foot building that was constructed of combustible material, mostly wood. The fertilizer storage building was located close to several houses, an apartment complex, 2 schools, a city park, and a nursing home. Inside the fertilizer building, seeds and other materials were stored in rooms throughout the structure. Various types of dried fertilizer and additives for blending were stored in large bins. There was a stockpile of 40 to 60 tons of ammonium nitrate stored between 2 bins on the night of the incident. The main bin contained about 30 tons. Fertilizer-grade ammonium nitrate is stable under normal conditions, but can violently detonate when exposed to contaminants in a fire. Sometime before 7:30 p.m. on April 17, 2013, a fire started in the fertilizer building. Although there were numerous combustible products inside, the CSB was unable to determine the source of ignition or exactly where in the building the fire began. One of the first responders to the incident was a police officer from the city of West who was on routine patrol near the city park. A young man approached him and pointed to the fertilizer plant. The police officer drove to the north end of the plant and observed orange-red flames coming from the building. He notified dispatch that the fire was structural. The West Volunteer Fire Department soon arrived on the scene with 2 engines, 2 brush trucks, and a water tender truck. But inside the building, the fire continued to quickly escalate. Smoke and soot from the fire accumulated on the piles of ammonium nitrate stored in their combustible wooden bins. At approximately 7:45 p.m., the character of the fire changed, most likely due to an opening low in the building, possibly when the fire burned through doors to what was known as the seed room. More outside oxygen rushed in, increasing the amount of radiant heat inside the fertilizer building. The heat was absorbed by the layer of soot on top of the pile of ammonium nitrate, rapidly heating the surface of the fertilizer and making it sensitive to detonation. Outside, the West Volunteer Fire Department sought to extinguish the flames with water. 1.5-inch hoses directed water through sliding doors to the seed room. Other firefighters were in the process of connecting a 4-inch hose to a fire hydrant that was more than a quarter mile away. As the fire grew, the fire chief and assistant fire chief began to discuss whether to withdraw, but it was too late. At 7:51 p.m., 20 minutes after the fire was first reported, approximately 30 tons of the stored ammonium nitrate detonated, causing a massive explosion.
You can see where they fucked up. The Chemical Safety Board actually has a lot of these videos available on YouTube. I've spent a good couple hours just watching them. They also have the Deepwater Horizon accident. A lot of different accidents have been covered by them because they're the main ones in the... They're basically like the strong arm of OSHA. Yeah. Hello, what is going on? Oh, we just watched a video by the Chemical Safety Board about the West Texas fire. Because I was talking about how one of my other interests besides tissue engineering is process safety and OSHA. Occupational Safety and Health Authority. And I was into OSHA before Half-Life I ever saw Half-Life Funny. Do not think it's a reference. Swear to God, chat. It's cool. It's cool. Hey, Rebellious Ramen, you want to finish that thought? You want to finish that thought? Go ahead. Go ahead. Try me. Fucking try me. You know what? I shake the chat. That's what you get. You get shook. Yeah, so I'm not even going to dignify that with reading that out loud. Does my chat even show up on my OBS? I forgot if I have you guys visible. Oh yeah, you're in the corner. God, if I didn't need viewers, I would ban you. God damn it. Yeah, but my main two interests are tissue engineering and process engineering. Because the thing is, Mike Small. The thing is with tissue engineering, that's helping people on an individual level. And then with you're technically being paid to watch this stream, nice. So I was talking about, the thing is, the reason why I like tissue engineering is I do like biology and I like necrotizing and I like watching tissue decay and grow and how you can deal with that. Tissue engineering is using engineering, chemical engineering. Oh, sorry, the water I've been drinking has been fighting me tonight. I might need to take a break soon. Tissue engineering helps people at an individual level. You're very happy to do. Boss makes $1, I make $10. That's why I watch Twitch on company time. Helping people on an individual level with tissue engineering is something I'm very interested in, but then also studying accidents like this and using chemical safety and OSHA and stuff is interesting because it helps people on a much larger scale. Have you guys ever heard of the Bhopal accident in India? Holy shit, yeah. I've been going for almost 2.5 hours. I'm gonna take a quick break, and then when I come back, I can tell you guys more about the Bhopal incident. Attack. Kill. Oh, wait, I don't have any mods on right now. I gotta do it myself. Also, I'm back, everybody. Just gotta deal with this first. There we go. So, let me pull up something for the Bhopal accident. Yeah, I took a drink, got a little apple thing my friend made me that I've been trying to eat. The dude cooks me all these goddamn desserts, and he's like, oh, enjoy these desserts, and how do you like them, and oh, did you eat it all before it went bad? And it's like, motherfucker, you make too much food. How am I supposed to eat it all before it goes bad? Okay, so I'm going to pull up an image for the Bhopal accident, but I gotta make sure it's safe for Twitch. So I'm going to go to my other tab. But this is something that can piss people off when they hear about it. The Bhopal, India disaster of December 1984. Also known as the Bhopal gas tragedy. Here's a safe for Twitch photo of just a guy standing in the aftermath. Thank you. Yeah. So. I have to slay many bots in my time. The Bhopal accident occurred in December 1984 at the Union Carbide pesticide plant in India. And the thing is, this plant had, for making pesticides, methyl isocyanate, which is wildly toxic and dangerous. And it had way too much of it. So the thing is with the tragedy, you're not supposed to expose this stuff to water. Like, at all. It's one of the main safety things. Never expose it to water. And the thing is, with the way things were set up there was a shantytown set up right by the factory. Like, there was the factory, and there's where a lot of the workers and people were living. So, you had MIC, as methyl isocyanate is called. Way too much of it stored in this facility. And you had way too many people living way too close to the factory because that's what they could afford. It was a shantytown. Labor laws are different. You know, it's not good, but that's what happened. And then you had an issue with the plant not having the proper oversight and slackness on maintaining all the pipes. So in December 1984, water got into the plant. Excuse me. Specifically, water got into the methyl isocyanate tanks. And that released a ridiculous amount of poisonous gas that blanketed the entire town. Because the problem is, too, I can't remember if this is true or not, but also if you look at it, it's kind of like the way the gas is, it sits kind of low to the ground where the people are. It doesn't, like, rise above. Like the way, with smoke, if you stay lower to the ground, you're safe from the fire, right? I can't remember. I think smoke goes high. But with this gas, it's sort of blanketed where all the people were and caused over 3,000 confirmed deaths and thousands of disabilities. Like, people, thousands upon thousands of people ended up dead or disabled. And I don't even think they have a full count of just how many people were affected, because also one of the problems is with this gas, because it's a pesticide, it can kill you immediately or it can kill you later. So they don't have an accurate number because of how many people could have been killed later. This was a disaster of incomprehensible proportions because the company that ran it, Union Carbide, fucked up. So they're still dealing with the aftermath of it. The plant has changed hands a couple times. I think it's in control of the Dow Chemical Company now, or DuPont, one of those two, one of the two big ones. Starts with a D. I always mix them up way too much. So, and there's still, like, lawsuits even ongoing to this day from victims from 1984 trying to seek compensation for what happened. Because pretty much everyone started passing the buck like a game of hot potato instead of taking responsibility for what happened and helping the victims. Yeah. So with stuff like this, the things I do with with tissue engineering interest me in helping people on a personal level. The stuff at the chemical safety level helps a lot of people in ways that you can't even realize. Like, and a lot of the accidents that are caused in chemical engineering, like all these big safety accidents where you look back and it's like, how could this have happened? It happened because people didn't care. People got complacent. People slacked off. People got lazy. There was this one case of a titanium oxide production facility in West Virginia where they could have shut down for the day and replaced a part that kept hitting a wall and generating a spark when titanium oxide is highly explosive in the presence of sparks. You only need a little thing to set it off. They didn't. They didn't bother to shut down for the amount of time it would take to replace this mixer that they had, this spinning blade thing. When it kept striking the wall, and they would just use stopgap repairs instead of fixing it. And one errant spark blew that whole facility sky high. Ridiculous how often it happens. OSHA is the thin line protecting us from corporate greed completely destroying us. I forgot that I made this. This is a pro-skin, anti-meat grape chat. Why did I pick that thinking that was white? So let's see. So far with it, I've been thinking more about the stuff we read here. So the main issue is the keratinocyte. Allogenic skin graft. I always forget that there was an E in this word. There we go. Science. This is the progress I've made today. I'm ready to quit. Because it's more than I was expecting to get done, considering how much I got sidetracked talking about other stuff. Yeah, it's like 9:30, but I had a really long day today, so my brain's like, you know what we should do? We should go to bed. And meanwhile, I have a different homework that's due tomorrow morning that has 4 problems left for me to go on. But that's not fun to stream, so I'm not going to stream it. What if I just said fuck it and played a whole game of Blue Shift again? Because I can beat that in like 2.5 hours. That'd be pretty funny. Gonna make a tube. This is my brand new brilliant idea. You ever see like a WD-40 can? Hold on. Here's my big idea. I'm a fucking genius. Fuck. Hold on, we gotta zoom in to get this right. We gotta make this look good. They do have spray on. I wish there was bigger brush options with paint, but you get what you get and you get real upset. As someone said once when I made the Arnie Magnuson fan cam. Voila. Skin. When it comes to getting this project done right, you could say that I have skin in the game. Yeah, you know, it's fucking spray on skin. You got, hold on. How can I make a guy? Make me any guy. You ever seen somebody with no skin where they're just kind of like... What if I just emailed this to my teacher and was like, I'm done with my final project? You ever seen a man without skin? I can just use the fucking line tool for this. It's scary when I see a man without skin. There. This will be my final project. And they got teeth some. That's... No, I'm not. And there's like a whole lot of muscles on your face, which is one of the problems they have with facial transplants, because there's a lot you gotta get right. You got muscles on your cheeks and they're on your chin, and they're just the most like useless looking pieces of shit. When I see them, they make me so mad. I'm like, why? And I know why we have them, and they're very important. But I look at them just on their own, and they're goofy. Because they're just sort of chilling there. So boom. Let's get the hold on. What sort of font options do we have? Do we have the bone font? Where the fuck is the... There it is. There we go. We did it. Boom. I'm a business major now. Fuck marketing majors. Give me money, and I'll give you skin. Not guaranteed to be skin. Meet Grape 2. Fuck it, this is going on Twitter without context. This is how the magic's made. Can I have another skin as armor so I'm less gooey? If you get if you get skin 2, that makes you like 3 times as gooey. There we go. Another masterpiece for Twitter. I'm gonna put it in my report too for right now. How the fuck do I time someone out in chat? I'm gonna get bubbly milk. I won't though, cause bubbly... Unfortunately, I cannot get bubbly milk right now. Fuck it, this is my project, this is what I'm turning in. I should just add this as a joke at the end after my slides as like a postscript. Excuse me. God, I am not in control of myself tonight. My chest hurts. My body's like, oh, you're streaming? You're gonna fall apart immediately. Anyways, buy some skin. Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna email that to my teacher later. This is incredibly credible. Yes. Hold on. Wait. I have an improvement for it. Trust me. I'm about to graduate with cum. My school said, hey, you're gonna graduate and we're gonna give you cum when you graduate. And I was like, what the fuck? But I guess they told me I'm like a magma cum laude. Minerva just showed up in time for me to break the entirety of the Latin, or what is it, like the Greek language? I'm a classics major, you can't do this to me, Sarah. Hey chat, I'm gonna be a magma cum laude. It's Latin, it means with praise. Yeah, I didn't go to Latin. I mean, I did back in high school, but then I got in a fight with the teacher and she tried to get me kicked out. I'm gonna post this on Twitter too. I'm gonna quote tweet the original with this one. Introducing Skin 3. You guys thought you were ready for Skin 2. No. You guys are getting fucking Skin 3 at this point. Where the fuck is it? Meat Grape 3. AKA Skin 3. Life, whatever important lap. This is fucking useless. Wait, what the fuck? Oh. How the fuck do I ban people? I'm being bullied in my chat. You know, I could ban the Simps in my chat if I just have to bring up fucking Peepaw. Hey chat? Remember I promised to explain to Swimmer Boy, my moderator Swimmer Boy, who Peepaw is? About like a week or two ago? Yeah, it must have been like 2 weeks ago at this point. I still didn't explain who the fuck Peepaw is. Peepaw will remain an enigma. Hold on, for like the 5 Peepaw likers that are in this goddamn chat right now, because I see you. I've got too many Peepaw likers in here. Every single day you guys are like, ooh, Peepaw. Oh, so our Peepaw is not allowed, but yours is. I'm gonna put you in jail. Peepaw. Hold on. Peepaw. You hate G-Man? You're one of the only ones in this chat that does. Everyone else is like, my audio is so quiet. My audio is so quiet.
Am I quiet? Am I quiet? Am I quiet? Am I quiet?
Somebody clip that. I need to see how that sounded. My username on the Wayne Court is Reb G-Man Hater. I'm like, the thing is, I can't blame people who like this dehydrated man, because my favorite character, he's one of my emotes right now, is Arnie fucking Magnuson. I have no right to judge anyone for the kind of characters that they look at in this game. I have my volume up so loud because you've been very quiet this entire stream. No one ever tells me if I'm quiet or not. People have to tell me if I'm quiet so I know to adjust the gain on this. I have it at like negative 1.4 decibels right now. If I'm quiet, people need to tell me so I can fix it. The little, the gain bar in OBS doesn't really tell me how I am. I'm so sorry, Torps. Thank you for the clip, Bubbly Milk. Hey, you guys, should I play that on stream? I'm gonna take damage from myself. Okay, first I had to check if it's in my headphones and not in my TV speakers, because that would be an experience for our neighbors. Everyone else is like, my audio is so quiet. My audio is so quiet.
Am I quiet? Am I quiet? Am I quiet? Am I quiet?
That's the loudest thing I've heard in a while. Hey, quick question, Twerps. Do you watch the streamer Sockpens, SOCPENS? Mr. Sockpens? The thing is, it's really funny, like, to go off on another tangent. They're missing out, yeah. Scorby streams are good. But the thing is, it's like, whenever I talk about Twitch streamers, if I'm talking to other people about someone, like, I'll say, like, yeah, oh, you don't have your volume up for the streams? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry about the fact that I blew your shit out. I'm very sorry, Torps. The thing is, like, what I'm trying to say is, whenever I talk about streamers, like, if they have names they go by, like Holotones is Holly and stuff. So when I'm talking to people who know about them, I'll be like, yeah, Holly. But then whenever I'm on stream, I always feel the need to be, like, more formal with people and more polite because I don't know them. So I'll be like, I will call people shit like Mr. Sockpens. Oh yeah, you were taking a nap at the end of Ger's stream when he's doing the voice request and he just went to hell with the crunch. That was really funny to see a clip of. I was, like, lurking in his stream because I was trying to do other stuff before mine. Why the fuck were we looking at G-Man again? But it's funny because I'll just say, like, I'll just, like, try and be polite because, you know, I don't know people. So I'm just like, oh, Miss Holotones. And then I just sound like I'm losing my mind. But I sound like that all the time anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, and if anyone's wondering why it's hard to hear me a lot of times, I don't have a mic arm. I have a Konami microphone sitting in a tin can. Which, speaking of, it's time to punish the Peepaw likers in the chat, because they're making me look at fucking Peepaw. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. There. My parents are probably in the other room so confused what I'm watching. Like I said, I'm an engineer. I've held jobs with the government. I've had government employment. The US government trusts me to do jobs for money. Hey, you guys want to see my presentation for class? Fuck me, the gift didn't work. Hate it here. This sucks. Now he's just pogging. This is an insult. This has been my favorite stream. It has somehow both spiraled off into nonsense, also hasn't spiraled off. It's all about skin. Yeah, keep up. We're making Skin 2 now. It's gonna have chitin in it. Hey, did you guys know that? Brought to you by Skin 2. I need to get like the I need to get the announcer from Smash Bros to introduce my stuff. Yeah, and the thing is, they do use chitin to make skin. Well, they make a lot of other stuff, but they're using chitin. Did I tell you guys about that part during my whole rambles about this? It's in my notes. This is gonna be one of my first videos on my VOD channel, by the way. Why the fuck am I talking about Wisconsin in this notebook? Where the fuck is it? Yeah, but they use chitin in people now. Some people are made of crabs. To give the actual explanation of that, chitosan is made from the shells of shellfish and other crustaceans, and it's used as a very strong, very good biodegradable, biocompatible scaffold for a lot of tissue engineering applications now. And because it's the extracellular matrix and not the actual cells, because they treat it so it doesn't have the allergens that usually give people shellfish allergies. So even if you have a shellfish allergy, you can become crab. Evolve. Become crab. Through the power of science. Yeah. This is spiraling out of control. I was going to be more productive about this project on stream. My original plan for this was just reading articles and then putting them together nicely and making nice little slides. And now I'm just turning the chat into crabs. Hell yeah. I mean, we did have a very strong detour into chemical safety, but that's still under the umbrella of chemical engineering, so I'm going to count it as a complete success. What if I did just... This is what I want to do every day when I'm stuck in school doing these projects. It was important to the discussion at hand. Every day when I'm in school, this is what I want to do instead of my homework. A live look into why I struggle to get things accomplished. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. don't ever doubt me again. I can see the future and I only use it to play Tetris. I have schoolwork I should be focusing on. I should really stop. I need to do my homework. Fucked up. Holy fuck. Okay, how much I do? 8 levels, 71 lines? Okay. We have to escape before they start the music again and I'm pulled back in. What the fuck were we talking about again? Oh yeah, skin! Hey, I'm at 777 total views on the channel now, according to the little moderator thing. Lucky. How much time passed? 20 years. That was a reminder I gotta do my fucking homework. Do your homework! God, I was debating streaming for another hour, but I'm debating just calling it early so I can focus on getting my own homework done. Because I realized streaming, I'm like, not getting anything done. I just spent 20 years playing Tetris, like, and I made fucking... This was the progress I made on my homework. Streaming is not good for me being a good student. I'm not good at it. You guys want to see? You guys want to call it here and see if there's anyone who we can raid? Because I feel like I got started with finding stuff for the project, which is good. Yeah, it's distracting. I feel like we make good progress with this, and I really liked having a stream like this. But then I need to log off to focus on getting into the nitty-gritty of it. And also I need to look at photos, which is against the TOS. Jeff Bezos said, hey, it's pretty fucked up to look at science. Yeah. Oh, you need to go to bed anyways? Yeah, so I'm probably going to call it here. Let's look to see if there's anybody to raid. Yeah, I want to have more streams like this in the future. But for now, we're going to be ending the broadcast, and let's see who's available to raid. looks like S5 Flare is live playing Outriders. And I want to give a thank you to everyone who showed up tonight. I want to give a thank you. Let me go through and see who I got to thank tonight. Goboms for following. Melisandre for following. Faceful of Books for subscribing for 2 months at tier 1. Distracted Doodler for subscribing at tier 1. Rebellious Ramen 2 for following. And then the rest is posture checks. 6.9 channel points. Nice. So I hope you all join me on this raid, and I hope things are going well for you, and if not, I hope they get better soon. Our next stream will be today's Wednesday, Friday, in the schedule. I will have more amounts in on Friday. In the evening, we'll be streaming Half-Life Out. Oh boy, I almost burped right in the microphone. That would have been fucked up. Half-Life Alyx. We're gonna be streaming Alyx. I hope you all have a very good night, and I'll see you then, hopefully, if you're free. Bye, everybody.